Move to item 1, the minutes to confirm the true record, the third decision of the meeting held on 9th November. Before I come to you, Chris, do we have a proposer for us to accept those? Thank you, Jonathan. Seconded by Paul. Councillor Fuller. I'll await for Councillor Jones-Evans to come back.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask which takes precedence? We've got a dichotomy between the minutes of the last meeting of Cabinet and the full council papers which have just been released. There's a difference between the figures which are quoted in the two of them, and I wondered which takes precedence in that case. Shall I give you an example?
As far as I'm concerned, that may not be the absolute answer, but as far as I'm concerned, Cabinet takes precedent, and papers that we have in Cabinet tonight are papers that we deal on. Is there something specific that you have in mind?
Yeah, so if you look at the page you've got with the minutes, which is on page 7, section 149A, it quotes that the majority were in support of the proposal. In fact, that wasn't a question that was asked, as we can see from the documents that have now been released for the full council meeting. The question was, do you agree with the scheme, not do you agree with the proposal? And in fact, the majority did not agree with the scheme. In fact, only 46% agreed with the scheme. So it would be wrong to claim in the minutes that the majority agreed with it. If you then look at the proposal, which was question 3, the majority actually supported increasing it to 75%, which is 104. No, I'm not. I'm just asking which takes precedence, because the documents released for full council are a difference to what you're agreeing in your minutes this evening.
I'm not aware that we're dealing with full council tonight.
I'm just asking.
I'm confused, Chris, to be frank.
Okay.
I think that's it. Thank you. If I've understood this correctly, that the minutes that are represented here are a true record of Cabinet discussions, and the full council is for items that are yet to be discussed, since we don't have full council. But I think that's the clarification. But Chris, look, we're as confused about your question as you're as confused about my answer. Perhaps I think we should move on. Julie, whilst you're out of the room, we are on the minutes. They've been proposed and seconded. Those in favour of confirming as a true record, please show. Ian, you weren't here, were you?
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 4 for 1 abstention for Councillor Stevens. Declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest? Public question time. There are no members of the public. I'm not aware of any written questions. However, I'm aware that we have a member online that wishes to ask a question, and if you can enable that, Simon, is that possible? Thank you. Michael, please go ahead with your question.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Michael. Just speak up a little, please. But we can hear you.
All right. Is that better? Can you hear me better? Yes, my question to the Cabinet is, there is an item on your agenda, independent living strategy, and I'm actually asking as chair of the Policy and Scrutiny for Health and Social Care. Why hasn't this report strategy been scheduled to coincide with the timings of the Policy and Scrutiny Committee for Health and Social Care, as opposed to scrutiny, corporate scrutiny, which it was presented to at this week? This strategy is extremely important and should have thorough scrutiny in a forum that involves other health and social care stakeholders, as it would put the strategy into the whole context of the Isle of Wight and social care pathways. Please can the Cabinet member and the Cabinet as a whole, when the forward plan is devised and items are put on the plan, are decided that are actually looked at by the relevant scrutiny and audit committee's time schedules, and make sure future reports do get scrutinised by the relevant committee. My sadness is this has been raised many times over the years and seems just to get ignored. It has recently been raised by the previous scrutiny officer and the current scrutiny officer. I would be grateful if my question comment is raised at tonight's meeting, which it is, and properly put in the minutes, and I wish to receive a written response. I also believe that you yourself, Councillor Jordan, have had the chair of audit and the chair of the neighbourhood committee have also come in on my question to say that they support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I know that you've had a written reply. Sorry, I know that you have asked your question by email, and we will provide a written response to that. But Michael, just to add, in conversations with our chief exec, we have reminded senior staff that that is the process, that these matters and papers should be brought before the relevant scrutiny committees in due course. And if there has been some oversight, we do apologise. And as I say, we have reminded staff that the process is it should pass through the committees, one of which you are a chair, and there are other committees also. So the relevant committees, hopefully from here, will get those papers in due course. But we will also give you a written reply to that effect, Michael. I hope that's satisfactory to you. Happy if you've got a follow-up question. I'll come to you, Debbie, after.
No, I'm happy with that. It's just I just wanted to raise it to make sure that the cabinet minute it, and that all cabinet members and officers in future look at the timescales, work with the scrutiny officer to make sure those items go on the relevant committees. Thank you.
A very good point, Michael, and absolutely agree with you, and we will do so. And thank you for that question, and it will be minuted. And you will get a written response and a Christmas card.
Thank you very much. I already got one, so thank you for your Christmas card. Thank you. I will depart now, if that's okay for you.
I was just going to, thank you, Chair. I was just going to reassure Councillor Lilly that this strategy is the start of a process, and we very much welcome input from all councillors on this. So, but I do take his point on board. I will say, though, that some issues that come forward are have a specific time frame. And with the committees, it unfortunately, sometimes there is a necessity to bring a paper forward where it doesn't coincide with the relevant committee. But I do take that on board, and I do welcome any input moving forward. Thank you.
Can I just reply to that?
Very quickly then, Michael.
Can I just go reply to that? There is a mechanism of the chairs to call special meetings. So if there is an item that fits out of the timescale, the officers could actually talk to the scrutiny officer and the chairs and we could actually always call a special meeting. This was recently done by the chair of neighbourhoods regarding the island plan. So there is flexibility of in that regard to get it to the right committee. Thank you.
Yeah, understood, Michael, and agree. Thank you. There being further questions, let's move on to Chairman's announcements. I am not going to take any time up or make any announcements at this meeting, but I continue to work with the Chief Exec and other corporate management team to help us deliver our corporate aims. So item 5, we'll move on to the report of the Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care and Public Health, which is you, Debbie, to lead on the review of the Independent Island Living Strategy. That's page 9 onwards from our papers.
Thank you, Chair. I'm delighted to bring forward to Cabinet tonight the Independent Island Living Strategy, which actually encompasses from 2023 to 2038. I'd just like to highlight there is a typo in the title on the papers. This report has been brought about by the need to have a reassessment of the change in numbers for our extra care provision on the island, the extra care units. So this strategy comes forward to accurately reflect both the current need and to ensure that we have sufficient accommodation projecting forward. I'd just like to highlight a couple of items from the paper itself, from the appendix, from the strategy. If you just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so this strategy has been a great example of co-production, and consultation has been widely carried out with island residents, asking a variety of questions, things like what are the barriers or things that you find less appealing about the prospect of moving to extra care housing, to accurately identify what the need is from our island residents. We've consulted with existing independent island living communities. We currently have 2 in Ryde Village and Green Meadows. We have consulted with our adult social care professionals who are going to be supporting people in these accommodations. And we've also consulted widely with the developers that are actually going to be delivering this extra care housing. We are focusing very much on assistive technology, but very mindful that that assistive technology is to enable independence rather than create social isolation. But we do think moving forward that things have moved on apace. I was recently at the Adult Social Care Conference together with Director Laura Godian, and it was very clear at that conference that a range of assisted technology, that is the way forward, and that great leaps have been made in that field in recent times, and we wanted to be sure that the strategy accurately reflected that. I'd also just like to clarify what extra care actually means and island independent living. And that is, there are three basic types of tenure, in that people can purchase a property within these villages, they can rent, or they can acquire maybe through social housing. So there are different ways that people can actually access it, to make sure that we are delivering to the widest range of people that where the need actually exists. So that is the report before you. I'm happy to take questions, but if not, I will move to the recommendation.
Are there any questions? There's no questions. Can I have a proposal and a second? Of course.
Recommend.
I'd just like to make a comment that this is an update from the paper in, I think it was 2017, something like that. And so it's good to bring it up to a current date. I don't know whether the numbers of the units on there is relevant, as we seem to be trying our best to move forward with units of all type, including the island affordable rental, etc., etc. And looking at this, I just hope that we can actually move forward with the numbers near as damn as are written in this document. It's very, very important that we try our best to move forward the housing agenda on this island, especially with within this paper. I just think that, as long as we've taken cognizance on where we are with it and how we should be taking it forward, I believe that's mentioned in the impact assessment. So I'll leave it with you, Councillor Andre, that we're going to move that forward, and we're going to try and push for the number of housing units that have been cited in the paper. Thank you.
Can I just respond to that briefly, Chair? Just for information, what Councillor Stevens was referring to is indeed outlined in the equality impact assessment. And I can give the numbers if required. The current independent living strategy does not accurately reflect the actual extra care housing demand of the Isle of Wight. So the current ILS states that at least 143 new extra care units per year should be built for the 9 years between 2019 and 2027. So this means that in total, 1,287 extra care units should be built by 2027, according to the current strategy. This is seen as an unrealistically high number of extra care units to be built and filled with tenants in this time span of 9 years. Based on the experience of previous developments, the figure of 143 new units per year means that 2 new extra care developments would need to be built every year from 2019 to 27 to meet the current demand. So the objective of the new refreshed independent living strategy is to establish a more realistic demand for extra care housing on the island based on industry recognised standards. And as I've said, the adoption of this strategy is really the start of that process to correctly identify what the realistic demand is. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
So
Any other
shall I
comments
go to the
or
recommendation?
questions? Any proposal?
Go to the recommendation. The recommendation is that Cabinet adopts the Isle of Wight Independent Island Living Strategy as attached at Appendix 1.
I have a seconder. Thank you, Paul. Seconded by Councillor Fuller. Those in favour of adopting this strategy, please show that's unanimous. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a report from myself on TRO review for Newport and Carisbrooke. We are going to defer this item until February Cabinet due to some extra work required on a number of the schemes. There are about 30 that are going to be proposed. Some are just corrections in the actual order, but some are actual physical additions of parking restrictions or parking changes at least. But 4 or 5 of them require further work. And instead of doing this in piecemeal, we'll bring the whole lot back in February. And when we get to the forward plan, I'll mention it again because it will have to be slipped on the forward plan. Okay, thank you. Item 7, report the Cabinet Member for Housing and Finance on the discretionary rate relief policy. It's page 153 onwards from our papers. Ian.
Thank you, Chair. We've got an update really on the existing Act, which has given us the Non-Domestic Rating Act of 2023, which actually allows for backdating of any claims through to, if they're put in by September of that year, the applicant can claim throughout the previous financial year, which is during this time of pressure and the concerns of our small businesses and our charities, etc. It will help to relieve the pressures on them. So there were 4 or 5 options. But what I'm looking at is, I'll read the recommendation out, if I may. The Cabinet recommends that full council adopts options 1 and 4 within this report. Option 1, backdating provisions which mirror the current legislative backdating rules are adopted within the discretionary rate relief policy. Awards will be considered from the date the application is received. In exceptional circumstances, consideration may be given to awarding rate relief for a retrospective period where the ratepayer can demonstrate good cause for not submitting the application earlier, subject to the following constraints relating to discretionary awards. 1, if the application is received by the 30th September, which I've already mentioned, the award can be backdated to the 1st of April of the previous financial year. 2, if the application is received after the 30th of September, the award can only be backdated to the 1st of April of that current year. 3, that relief can be amended or ceased by the council at any such time determined on a daily basis as the council considers that the ratepayers no longer meet the criteria to receiving the relief. Option 4 is gives a slant on how it can be changed at a future date, and that I'll read it so that you get the drift of it. That any future changes required to the discretionary rate relief policy are passed for delegated decision to Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Housing and Finance, and the Section 151 officer in conjunction with the monitoring officer, if appropriate. And I'll point that out that it's not going to be me that makes that decision, obviously, because it's going to be the Director of Finance, and all I will be doing is be working in conjunction with his know-how and his expertise to take that forward. So it won't be something that we'll be falling back on an elected member to make that decision. Be dealt with through the professional channels of this authority. Would like to give you a little bit of background there, and if you look at page 154, but those of you who haven't got it, you should pick some of this up. The domestic rating is a large number of reliefs, but they're divided into two types: mandatory and discretionary. Mandatory are dictated by legislation, and the Isle of Wight Council will be obliged to implement those in full. In the case of discretionary relief, these are themselves broadly divided into three types. And listed there are discretionary relief, which is defined by legislation. Another one, B, is discretionary relief, which is wholly defined by the council and borne by the council and government under the business rates retention provision. Those first two that I've mentioned, the rates are accessed via a 50-50 contribution from the local authority and indeed central government. There's a third one here, which is discretionary relief, which is wholly defined and reimbursed by government under a Section 31 grant. If you want any more information on that, come and see me after school, and we'll have a chat about it, and we'll take things forward with that. What I would say is that moving it forward with options 1 and 4 falls entirely within our corporate objectives, our corporate aim, and our support for our charities and small businesses on this island at these trying times. So I've read out both options which I'm putting forward, and I'm going to leave it there. Any comment or any concerns, any questions, please come forward. Anything else that you wish to know outside of this, then I can put you in touch with the professionals, because I feel that some of this is driven by legislation and it needs to be dealt with through the professional channels which support us as members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ian. Any comments, any questions? There being none. Ian, could we have a proposal, please?
You've had the two recommendations, option 1 and option 4 of the paper, and I don't intend to read them back through again. So its recommendation is to go with option 1 and option 4, which absolutely support the aims and the objectives and the support this council gives to, as I said, our charitable organisations and our small and medium businesses. So I'll propose it.
I'd look for a seconder.
Seconder, please.
Councillor Andre. I'd just add that in flipping through this, that we actually help support our local newspapers, which I didn't realise. We do a 50-50% on one grant for one titled local newspaper. I didn't know that. So, Ian, in addition to our local small businesses and our charities and our small sports clubs also, I notice, we're trying to do our best to help support our local economy. So it's been proposed and seconded. Those in favour of adopting this? That's unanimous. Thank you, colleagues. Item 8 is a report for the Cabinet for Children's Services, Councillor Bacon, on the school funding formula and budget setting for 24-25. Pages 211 onwards in our papers.
Thank you, Chair. I will be brief. This is, in a way, a formality. It's a paper we receive each year in fairly similar form, whereby the funding formula for pre-16 mainstream schools is set for the coming financial year. Currently, of course, overall funding is nationally set, and then the allocation to individual schools, which is what this is decided locally, although it is worth noting in passing that direct national funding is due to come in 2027, and as the paper notes, work to that end is already underway. So I suppose the only other thing to add is that this is not about levels of funding of schools as such, but simply how we distribute what we are given. The local formula that's set out in this paper follows on from the release of various information from DFE, which started in July, was updated in October and finalised in December. There has, as usual, been consultation with schools. The results of that are seen in the paper, and the matter was formally considered at the schools forum meeting towards the end of last year, where the schools, through that forum, agreed the principles for distribution. And I think that is all I need to say, Chair. So I will take you to the recommendation that the 24-25 school funding formula and wider dedicated schools grant budget allocations detailed in Appendix 1 and 2 to this report be approved, and I look for a seconder.
Thank you. Councillor Fuller seconded that. Any comments, any questions? Could I just ask Councillor Bacon that this in no way is associated with the pupil per head funding? I wouldn't want people to be confused that this funding is in any way connected with that.
No, I sought to make that point earlier. It is literally the block of money that comes, that is passported through the council, the formula by which that is divided up into smaller chunks to go to each school. That's what this is about.
Thank you for the clarification. We have a proposal. It's been seconded. Therefore, those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Thank you, colleagues. Should have said welcome to Councillor Luciani. Councillor Luciani's been away on council business and made a great effort to get back here in time for this meeting. So we do thank you for that. And I hope you have a successful day representing our council elsewhere. Thank you. That leads to cabinet member announcements. Is there anything anyone would like to say? Councillor Bacon, I'll come to you.
Chair, just before I get on to that, we had a question a little earlier about the minutes and the local council tax support scheme. Something triggered in my head and I just had a look. Could I attempt to offer some clarification? Because the point was made that about 70%, whether that was approved in the consultation. And of course, 70% was not a figure in the consultation. The options were 75 or 65. I think what may have happened is that the minutes note has slightly departed from the language of the consultation. And it would make sense if instead of the phrase responses to the consultation had shown that the majority of respondents were in support of the proposal. As has been pointed out, that's not accurate, but it is accurate if you say that the most popular response was in support of the proposed scheme. And then that would tie in and make sense with the note of the resolution that follows. I know we have technically agreed the minutes, but I offer that up as I think a fairly obvious explanation of what may have happened there, and just to avoid letting any hairs run by a suggestion that we've got inaccurate information here.
Thank you, Councillor Bacon. We will minute that. I think we are past being able to correct the minutes, but we will minute that has been noted and correct the minutes by the corrected minutes correctly.
I apologise, the light bulb didn't go on sooner. And perhaps if I could, as I'm speaking, just say in terms of update, very little to say. But I would like to note that there was an event this lunchtime at which the partnership with Hampshire County Council for Children's Services, I did think it was a slightly odd way of putting it. There was a celebration of the end of the partnership. It was not celebrating the fact that it's ended. It's celebrating all the good work that has been done and achieved. And myself and the chief executive spoke briefly at the meeting to thank very much give heartfelt thanks for all that work that all those involved in children's services and in the running of the partnership have been done. We were also lucky to have the new Director of Children's Services present at the meeting. He does not take up post until the 1st of February, but he's been able to attend the island this week for a number of meetings and getting up to speed with things. And he was able to speak at that session. And it was nice to see that everyone listened carefully to him, and there was definitely a good feeling in the room about not just what's happened up to now, but how we're going to be going forward with Mr. Whitaker as our new DCS. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Jonathan. Julie.
Thank you, Chair. Just very quickly, it's in December, the department, which is the a project in your ward, Chair, we were successful. Region put a bid in for Historic England grant funding to augment the budget there for that important building conversion to basically keep the integrity of some of the historical features in that building. So we're really lucky to get that. And we're also just putting a bid in shortly for the Guildhall to get into Historic England to take it up to Reba stage 4, I think it is. That's building on the plans that were done early on in the HAS a couple of years ago. So really good. These things take time, but they're really worth. And these partnerships are really very valuable to us. And we had the Bay Place plan launch on Monday. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there because I was away, but I hear it was very well attended, and I think it's all gone down very well. So it's 100 pages. So if you want to have an afternoon of reading, I would encourage anyone to have a look at it. But I think there's the opportunities, because it's the first time we've done 3 areas together. So it's 3 town councils working with the Isle of Wight Council. Been a very successful collaboration, and each town has had its own unique stamp put on there, and it has those characteristics, which obviously is very important in place planning, that you respond to the local voice and the assets it has. So yeah, we're looking forward to some projects coming forward from that. And lastly, the Solent cultural strategy, which I've been driving as I sit on the Solent LEP, which is now moving to Solent Partners, as we know. And I think it's on the forward plan, isn't it, for the future arrangements? So we'll have a bit more to say on that in the next couple of months. Yeah, that was that. We had the cultural strategy consultation on the island at Key Arts in December, and that was very well attended as well. So yeah, it's really good to be working with our communities and of course our partners across the water as well. So I look forward to that actually coming out.
Thank you, Julie. Any other? Karen, I'll come to you after.
So today I went on behalf of Wendy as a cabinet member for community protection to where did I go? Anyway, it was on the mainland, Hedge End, and it was the launch of the Violent Reduction Partnership, which is part of the Violent Reduction Unit that's set up by the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner through the Home Office, and it basically sets out our obligations that we now have as strategic partnerships of how we deal with violent crimes on the Isle of Wight, and that really revolves around exploitation and trauma informed. I've got some really good stuff on that now, so if anybody wants to see it, so I'm really quite excited about that, because I think once we get our new director for community protection and highways, I think it's really time to relaunch that partnership and really focus on how we work and really understand, because normally when somebody's got to crime, it's a symptom of something. So we're talking about young people under 25 really at this point. So I really want to work with my colleague with children as well, to understand the implications, because it has to go through quite a lot of stuff. So I'm really excited about getting involved in that and helping to embed that and having really good partnerships with people, because actually the community know what the community needs. And it's also about data sharing. But I will give an update fully because I forgot to bring my book in. But it was very interesting, and I think good things can come from it. Also tomorrow is the opening of Cowes Police Station, so I'll be there in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I have got an update from the fire service on the estate. So again, I will give an update next time on that one.
Thank you for that, Karen. Paul.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a quick report on planning reports that we've got building up in the pipeline at the moment. One of the issues that a lot of people tell me and the planning officers is, well, you know, you're building these houses in this location, but how is that going to work within our medical health infrastructure? We haven't got the support for having these housing. Well, one of the things that officers have been tasked to do is draft health contributions, SPD. And this is something, a piece of work that we're preparing in partnership with the NHS Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Integrated Care Board. This draft SPD will set out how and when financial contributions will be sought from qualifying new development. Really important, and that is more than 20 units. And the funding, we hope, will go towards primary care infrastructure improvements, and also potentially to help to extend GP practices. So all we need now are the doctors. So that's something to look forward to in the future. The next one we have, and again, very, very important, is the draft sustainable drainage systems, so the SUDS SPD. This is being prepared by consultants who have expertise in drainage and flooding in conjunction with key stakeholders like the Environment Agency. This draft SPD sets out the principles of sustainable drainage systems and how scales of new development from householder extensions to large residential development can ensure they are designed to tackle surface water in the best possible way and minimise the amount of water entering the combined sewer. Now, when we had our discussions with the Policy and Scrutiny Committee on Neighbourhoods and Regeneration, this was something that was brought to our attention, and the importance of that I've asked to be prioritised as a new SPD to be issued as soon as we can. We hope that there will be a 6-week consultation which will take place hopefully in the coming weeks. We've got 3 LC WIP SPDs, one for East Cowes and Whippingham, one for Gurnard and Northwood, and the other one for Brading, Bembridge and St Helens. Again, this will come before Cabinet in the future, and hopefully we will be looking to adopt those in April or May. The next one I've got is the Newport Harbour Master Plan. And again, I'm sharing this with Councillor Jones-Evans. But again, we were originally hoping that would go to Cabinet in February. But because of the Iron Planning Strategy being delayed, this will also have to be delayed. And I know that that's happened within the forward plan. In addition to that, we also have a statement of community involvement, and that following consultations on a revised draft SCI in the late summer, final revisions are being made to the design of the document, and the new SCI will be published in January 2024. So only weeks away, ticking off one of the recommendations of the LGA peer review and updating how the LPA will engage with people in all aspects of the planning process. You know, hopefully there will be improvements that come forward with that. And finally, we've got a local development scheme. The LDS is the local plan preparation timetable. This was formally published in 2020 last time. Since then, the draft IPS has seen various delays for different reasons. Officers have been in continued contact with the Planning Inspectorate over these delays and knock-on impacts on potential submission and examination timings. PINS contacted the Isle of Wight directly last week for a status update, and a revised LDS is now being prepared to take account of the latest short delay. The dates in the LDS will be based on the indicative date of the IPS going to Cabinet in March 2024. So there are a lot of policies that I'm looking forward to bring to Cabinet in the next few weeks, few months, and look forward to hopefully making some progress on areas which are really, really important for our communities across the island. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for that update. It's encouraging. Debbie.
And probably this is finally, since taking on the portfolio, I've been very keen to see firsthand the excellent services that are available to our residents. So I have a programme of visits planned. I've already visited the Adelaide re-enablement centre and seen the great work that's going on there. It was lovely to have the opportunity to speak to residents there and to speak to the staff. And as I say, to actually see firsthand the terrific provision that is available there. This week, I visited Inclusion, which is our alcohol and drug service, and spoke to staff there, and there is some really amazing work that is going on with some of our most vulnerable residents, especially in terms of, and the successes, the number of people that are actually being reached by our staff and being helped is quite phenomenal. So my thanks go very much to them. I'm very much looking forward to a visit to the Gouldings re-enablement centre over in Freshwater, which has had a complete refurbishment and fully staffed. So I'm very much looking forward to meeting the staff there. And on a final note, I know that there is one particular aspect of great concern to all our residents, and that is the provision of dentistry on the island. And it was good to hear that Councillor Fuller's working closely with the our NHS Hampshire and Isle of Wight Integrated Care Board colleagues within the public health part of my remit. I've been working with colleagues. There is a dental strategy that has now been developed that is ongoing, which sets out the strategic priorities that we need to work towards and actually has a delivery plan. And it's focusing on things like oral health promotion to actually improve the oral health, stabilisation, so to actually make sure that dentist access levels are maintained for Isle of Wight patients, that patients can easily and reliably access a comprehensive range of high quality NHS dental services required, to make sure that there is an adequate workforce, and that to have data leading that decision making so that we make the best use of it. So it is ongoing, but just to reassure residents that there is a strategy that is being worked through, because we do appreciate that there needs to be improvement in access to dentistry on the island. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Encouraging also. We had the opportunity, Chief Executive and myself, to go to the Gouldings in Freshwater. We went on the day it reopened, and perhaps could have chosen a better day. It was quite busy, but very impressed with the refurbishment. Spirit of staff incredible there. Day one, we'll give them a while, but to settle in. But really encouraging and a great resource for not only for the community of West Wight, but for this council and for the people that we look after there. And thank you for all you're doing. Ian.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't going to come in and mention too much because obviously we're still working with other members than the Alliance across chamber to bring forward a structured and balanced legal budget for the Isle of Wight Council. That's ongoing. There's a lot of hard work gone in across all directorates, and I can only say that staff have stepped up to the mark, as indeed have the other members who wish to contribute, listen, and put forward their concerns at the same time. So that's moving along in the appropriate manner. I did have a meeting through the LGA board, actually, with Simon Hoare, the minister, who advised us to use, if we were short on cash, use our reserves, but then pointed it back to saying, but you better speak to your Section 151 officer first. So it was much the same as, okay, if you get yourself into trouble, then it's not down to me. I'm just telling you there are reserves there. Well, we all know that because over a period of time, ministers have come forward and said, with the fire service, for instance, as Councillor Luciani will understand, if you're short on your funding, use some of your reserves. Doesn't matter, and in brackets I put, it doesn't matter if that is already allocated, reserves that are allocated for upgrading equipment or what have you, just use your reserves. The thing is that it's always the caveat of, okay, ask your Section 151 officer. Well, I know the answer before we go to our Section 151 officer with regards to use of reserves, and I think that most other members in the chamber do. So that being it, that wasn't what I was going to talk about. What I wanted to mention with a report, if it is a report, but it's a few words. I spent a day down in Cowes at the newly opened Dementia Resource Centre, and I can only say that I've nothing but admiration for the people that take time out to work with those in need across our island. And I think that if there's one thing that we've done over the last year is to create that Parklands Centre as a resource centre for our dementia support. And I think that what we need to do is look and see how, and I know I'm going to embarrass her, but our director, who takes a hell of a lot of flack at times, and I mean Laura Gordian, she takes a hell of a lot of flack at times. She manages her directorate so well. And I'll tell you what, seeing how well that both Laura and her staff were received down at Parklands the other week was something to behold. It actually means something when people that are giving service out actually see the people that are driving forward their projects and their objectives. And I think that, you know, as far as I'm concerned, our adult social care directorate is moving in the right direction. I'd like to say at this moment in time, this is why I picked up on it, because we were down there together, Debbie. And I'd like to say a big thank you, Laura. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop there.
Thank you, Ian. I've nothing to Karen.
I just wanted to say, from what Debbie said, we're getting a brand new dentist in my ward, just to say it's going to be fantastic.
Is that a one or a dental surgery? Oh, okay. Well, people move in the ride, Karen. Don't keep telling me. I've got not much to announce other than we have had some success in transport with some serious grant funding that have come to this council. One in particular for West White to ride Greenway, so-called Greenway, multi-million pound, 14, 15 million pounds worth of grant funding for a pre-designed scheme that will be rolled out. There'll be timescales on that. I think it's a couple of years to deliver it, but that will be rolled out. But success in terms of that grant funding. We had some grant funding, couple of £1 million to deliver some safety schemes on the, I think it's the A3054, but it's Sandown to Blackwater Road through Arraton. So numbers of schemes there will be delivered with that money. We had about 600,000 or 700,000 into RIDE for active travel. So and we've had the £20 million into RIDE, which I've mentioned before, over the next 10 years, £2 million a year. So we've had some success for our transport. Nonetheless, we're challenged on capital for general works throughout the year. All the works that all of you and all of your residents, I know, ask you that they want delivered, right down to putting a yellow line on the road or a drop curb or a crossing or some speed safety measures. All cost money that we are struggling to find. And finally, I would just say a really, really huge disappointment for us that the government, in spite of saying that they recognise the island has a case for special funding, so-called island deal, they absolutely ignored it in our settlement, and we ended up worse off than we were last year in terms of our forecast. At least we forecasted to be in a position £400,000 better off this year. And after the settlement, we ended up £400,000 worse off. So government great, giving us our capital funding for some of our schemes, which we are very thankful for. But the real problem's our revenue, and we didn't get it. And that's a big disappointment for us, for our council, for our staff that worked so hard to try and get that money for us, and for our residents that deserve better. So I'll leave it at that and move on. But thank you for all the work you're doing. Thank you for our staff that continue under enormous pressures to try and deliver the statutory services that we have to deliver. Never mind some of the little nice bits that we would welcome on our island, in our community. And they work under enormous pressure, and I thank them for that. Continue to thank them, and I'm sure we do as a cabinet do so. I'll move on to the consideration forward plan. I have a couple of announcements, and then I'll see if there's anything in your own portfolios. But as I mentioned earlier, the District 2 TROs, Newport and Carisbrooke, is being slipped until February. That's due to more work required on a couple of the proposed schemes. On District 4, that's Alveston, Arraton, Lake, Newchurch, Sandown and Shanklin areas, will be slipped from February. It was due to come forward in February. It will now be May, and that's to allow for further public consultation and feedback summaries. This is something we're adding into the TRO process so that the public can see the results of the consultation, not just numbers. Before, we've just delivered numbers for and against. Now all of those comments will be listed in as part of our reports, and therefore available for the public to see. Equally, District 6 on the TRO, which is Brighton, Freshwater, Rookley, Shalfleet, Shorewell, Totland and Yarmouth. That's will be slipped from March to June for the same reason that we need to allow longer for public consultation, longer period, and everything's getting pushed back now because of the District 2, and for feedback of the summaries and the report. So that was slipped to June. The adoption, as Councillor Fuller mentioned, of the Newport Harbour Plan will go from February to May. that's to await the determination, as he explained, of the island planning strategy. And the adoption, as he also mentioned, of the 3 LC whips will go from March to May, mainly due to capacity of our officers to and the resources that they need and their own resource to bring forward those SPD. So that will slip. We need to add the disposal of the former Yarmouth School and the former Western School to full council. I've got March here, but it needs to go on the forward plan. March sounds early to me, but it will go on the full. Sorry, did I say full council? Oh, thank you for the correction. To full cabinet rather than delegates. Thank you for that correction. The draft health contributions SPD, Councillor Fuller mentioned, is to be added for May. And the drainage system, the SUD, so-called SUDs, sustainable drainage system, also for May. And I think that's it that I have for additions to the forward plan. Yeah, and one other, which is disposal of land at the Information Technology Park in Whippingham, also needs to be added to the forward plan. That's a property disposal, land disposal. That's all I have. Is that right? Why are you smiling? That's right. Okay. Any comments on the forward plan for your own? No, we're all okay. We're okay. We're okay. We're okay. We're okay. And that brings me finally then to members' question time. Any of you want to ask a question? Please do so. Karen, far away.
I just wonder, from what I did today, that they said that the joint needs assessment for the partnership had been sent. Have you seen that? No. I'll chase that then. Thank you.
Julie.
Thank you, Chair. And so a good question I should have asked you privately, if you may or may not know, but and I'm not sure if it's under social care children now. They held the household support fund that's come from government in the past. They haven't made an announcement for this next financial year, have they? I just wonder if they had any inkling at all. I mean, keeping an eye on the press, and they're sort of keeping stum about it, which of course I'm guessing that would be our pantries at risk and all that kind of stuff. Debbie, is it? No?
If I can just come in there. Yes, I can confirm that it was under my portfolio when I was Children's Services. It has now transferred to Adult Social Care. We are currently Household Support Fund 4, but historically we have had very little notice when the new funds are going to be put forward. But rest assured, Councillor Jones-Evans, we will be on it. We are cited on it. We have an officer allocated to it, specifically to it. And as soon as it comes through, we will be following the due process. Thank you. Yes, I mean, it supports a whole range of services. So we don't anticipate that will change, but it comes through the DWP and it is predicated by government, and there are set criteria, but we are very much cited on it, and we will do what we have done with the previous household support funds and make sure that it services as broad a range as possible for our island residents. Thank you.
Thank you. I think last year they announced it at the budget, an autumn budget, and they haven't done it yet, have they? So I think people are sort of on tender hooks there. So, but I know you're on it. So it's good to know that the team's there. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Ian,
please. Yeah.
I just want to come in on that. It's one of the areas that the LGO have been pushing on because there's been no mention as yet. And time's drifting on towards budgets and what have you. So we've got that. We've got Section 106 funding that's been they've been dragging their heels on as well. So there's a few things that are still outstanding. One wonders whether they're holding things back for a war chest for May or something like that. Yeah, thank you.
There being no further questions, that is the end of the meeting at 6:05. Thank you all for attending, your contributions, and we will see you at the next meeting. Thank you.